Hi there, my name is Richard McMunn, and for the duration of this short presentation I'm going to teach you a very powerful method that you can use when responding to situational interview questions. This is a process that I've used many times when both preparing for interviews and also when actually responding to the interview questions, and I would urge you to follow this method because it allows you to respond to the questions in an effective manner. Many interviewers will assess you against your communication standards, and using the STAR method is a great way to make sure that you score high in that particular area. So straight into it, what does STAR actually mean? Well, it's basically broken down into four specific areas. S stands for situation. So when you are responding to the situational interview question, you will first of all explain what the situation was. So you would say the situation was I was required to do X, Y, and Z. The next part is you explain what the task was and what had to be done. So you'll say, well, I was required to do X, Y, and Z. Then you move on to what action you took and also what action other people took. And remember, the interview is all about you. So it's important that you focus primarily on what action you took, but you may also need to explain what other people did, especially if it was in a team scenario setting. And then finally, you will explain what the result was following your actions. And a very important tip here is to always make sure the result is positive following your actions. So what you did, make sure that the outcome is positive, and that's a great way to make sure that you score high during situational job interview questions. Now, I strongly recommend that when you're preparing for any kind of interview is that you use this method. So you get yourself a sheet of A4 paper, and on the left hand side write down STAR, write the question across the top, and then use bullet points to write out how you intend to respond to the questions. So just to quickly recap, explain what the situation was, what the task was that you had to do, what action did you take and what action did other people take, and also what was the result following your actions, and make sure that the result is positive following your actions. Okay, here's some sample situational interview questions that you may choose to use when responding using the STAR method. So first of all, can you give me an example of when you've worked in a busy customer service environment? Second question, can you give me an example of when you have had to deal with a difficult customer? So you could say, yeah, the situation was I was working in a shop, a customer approached me and he wanted to complain. The task was that I was required to deal with his complaint in an effective manner and also in a way that he was happy with what I did. The action that I took was that I first of all listened to the customer carefully. I listened to his needs, I listened to his complaint. I then explained what I proposed to do in order to resolve his complaint, and you go through the whole process of STAR. Next question, give me an example of when you have worked under pressure. Give me an example of when you have resolved an issue that had arisen from initial point of contact through to resolution. Please provide me with an example of when you've worked effectively as part of a team, and can you give me a time when you have had to be flexible in the workplace? So they're just 6 small examples of where you may choose to use the STAR principle when responding to the questions. And don't forget, as I mentioned earlier, many interviewers will assess you against effective communication. If you follow that method, it will basically demonstrate that you are logical and succinct and organized in your responses. If you want any more free videos or free information downloads, and you can also get a free 150-page interview workbook, so don't forget that's free, visit www.howtobecome.co.uk. Thank you very much for watching.